Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and you can probably hear that I'm under the weather. I have a stuffy nose, occasionally runny nose, and so bear with me through that. But I am excited to announce that I was a contributing author and featured in a trilogy series that is in the works. The first book came out, the Book of Frequency, Love, and Gratitude. And I want to share a little bit about that, specifically my chapter, because I think it is amazing. And here's why. Obviously, I'm biased because I was a contributing author, but looking at it from an outsider perspective, what I see is that we live in a fallen world, and every day gets worse, it seems. There are revitalizations here and there, but for the most part, what we see is kind of a loss of love and gratitude, in my opinion. We see a lot of lust and greed and pride, and those are the opposite of love and gratitude. I feel like people aren't growing up with romantic stories like, the works of Nicholas Sparks or other genuine, heartfelt romance stories, especially not real life ones. What I see is I won't name drop them, but these reality TV shows, these dating shows, some of them are national phenomenons where people are having viewing parties at restaurants and bars and at people's houses, and it's like again, it's all about pride, greed, lust. You know, do some of these, I'm not going to take away from any of these people genuine feelings of love that they may experience on these shows or during this time. But a lot of the clips you see on social media in these YouTube studios, and by YouTube studios, I mean, these studios people are recording and posting on YouTube. Again, a lot of it is all about sexual immorality. There's not a lot of stuff there. You can find it if you search for it, truly inspiring stories of love. There are clips and posts about that online, but for the most part, what is mainstream, including in music, in rap music and a lot of other genres of music, it's not this genuine romance. There are a lot of heartbreak songs, don't get me wrong, but how about just genuine romantic love? Yeah, you had the heartbreak songs and you have the club and shawties and all that stuff, right? There's not a lot of genuine love and gratitude. So I think this book, which is a compilation of some chapters are love, some chapters are gratitude, some are both. And for the most part, they're genuine stories from couples or individuals who have, experienced love or gratitude or both, and talks, and all the chapters talk about the power of one or the other or both. Again, I feel like love and gratitude are the opposite of lust, pride, and greed. Gratitude doesn't always equate to humility, but a lot of times when you're grateful, it means you're recognizing things outside of yourself that have allowed you, maybe it's an opportunity, or maybe it's someone's love and support, which you'll see in some of the chapters there, right? And so usually it requires accountability or humility, not always, but again, those feelings, humility, accountability, right? Those are the opposite of pride, right? A lot of times pride can lead to people who aren't thankful or grateful, who take stuff for granted, including relationships. On the other hand, lust often negates love. That's not to say they don't go hand in hand, right? They do go hand in hand in a lot of ways. But a lot of times, lust is the main foundation for relationships, especially in the younger generations, and not love first. And lust is causing people to act blindly, to pass up, better relationships, to put people down, to prioritize people for their body and their, sexual abilities rather than genuine connection. And so I think this book is needed. And I think a lot more work needs to be done online and in mainstream media, both the music industry and the television industry, as well as, the YouTube shows, to help foster that genuine connection of love and gratitude more. That being said, what I hope to do with my platform is right now, today, in this episode, I will be sharing my chapter and my contribution to the book, the first book of the Book of Frequency series, Love and Gratitude. Normally, I don't have a script for the show, right? I just, the questions come and go as they do, a natural conversation. For this, I will be reading directly from the chapter, and hopefully everything is set up where it looks like I'm still looking at you. And yeah, if you're listening, I did wear a pink shirt to try to be thematic with love. Uh, you know, it's actually the only, just a fun little tidbit since this is a solo episode. This pink shirt was one of those occasions where my grandmother, like most grandmothers, was like, "Oh, Mr. Whiskey, look at this. Wow, it's a bright pink polo, by the way." And when I say pink, I mean like neon pink. Just for those listening, not watching, it is the neon pink, right? And one of those situations where grandma was like, "Oh, you would look so handsome in this, and all the ladies are gonna love you." And it's like, I don't know about that, grandma. And then she buys it, and it's like, all right, now I gotta wear this. Um, it is great though. I wear it on Valentine's Day, on other occasions related to women's health or romance or a lot of the breast cancer awareness stuff. So it has come in handy. It's just not my everyday go-to, and it doesn't look too bad. I have slightly tan skin, so it's not the best combination. I think if I was paler, it would look brighter. Maybe it would wash me out, but doing the best we can here. That being said, we are going to get into the chapter, which was called Bending Time with Love. And it actually starts underneath the chapter title. There is a quote from Genesis 29:20, the New International Version. So Jacob labored 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like mere days to him because of his love for her. And then the chapter starts. There are countless quotes and songs about love that I could reference to represent myself, but none do it so well as the one above. Not only does it summarize my personality and life story well, but it's also a great example of the many applications and definitions of frequency. In this particular case, we'll be focusing on frequency as a concept of movement through life at a certain speed or perceived speed, as well as a state of energy and being. Most commonly, time moves at one speed, but our perception of it can be skewed to seem faster or slower. An hour adventuring with your best friend and an hour in traffic can both feel like drastically different experiences despite the same amount of time having passed. I could list countless factors that affect our perception of time, but the one we're focused on is love. It's actually one of the most powerful forces that can change our perception of time. We all know the saying about how time flies when you're having fun, and I believe that time flies even faster when you're in love. Of course, love is different for everyone and changes throughout our lives. But one thing is universally certain: the frequency of love is powerful. Sometimes love can be blinding, can cause us to become obsessed, break our morals, change our lives, and sometimes everything about ourselves. Some people will go to drastic lengths for love, and I'm one of those people. That's how I realized the frequency of love can be powerful, but also something to be cautious about. Balancing love is already a difficult task, but when you add being a nuclear operator in the Navy to it, love becomes exceedingly more complicated. There's rarely free time. If there is, it's pick one thing: sleep, hobbies, socializing, love, errands, and then it's back to work. The rest will have to wait for another free moment, if it comes at all. Now, there's a way to get more free time and do more than one thing. That's to give up your sleep. With multiple coffees or energy drinks a day, military members are known for being caffeine addicts. I, however, did not partake in that. Love was my caffeine in the military instead. There have been many "she's the one" moments and devastating heartbreaks in my life. I've been on countless dates and I've foolishly fallen in love with many women. Due to my traumatic upbringing and my parents' severely skewed views of the world, I didn't understand love. I didn't grow up witnessing healthy love. In fact, I was told I'd spend my life alone and die unloved. The military made love even more complicated, but unlike high school, I had some success. This is when I first tapped into the frequency of love. It started with giving up sleep. Love fueled me through sleepless nights and long shifts. However, it was nothing compared to when I was truly in love with my, at the time, fiance. That love was far different from what I had experienced prior to meeting her. Our first date lasted 14 hours, and I had driven over 2 hours to see her and then two more to return home. She almost refused to meet me, wary of having me drive so far to see her for the first time. Little did we know that the drive I made that day would seem like nothing compared to what was to come. As the mission often calls us to do, I had to move away. By that time, I had fallen deeply in love. So what now? We were separated by quite the distance after all. In turn, my weekend lifestyle became a testimony to my love. The labor I would do as Jacob did for Rachel. My weekend schedule became this. I'd work most of Friday. Then I'd immediately drive over 8 hours to see my then fiance. Saturday, I'd spend the day with her before sleeping for a few hours. Then I'd wake up and spend Sunday with her before driving overnight, 8 hours straight, to the ship, where I would then work several hours. If it was duty day, that became a 24-hour shift, often with overnight duties that same evening. Truly, I couldn't do that drive again. Not without love. I say that because I drove that route a few times again for my friends, and it was unbearable. The first time I drove back to see them, all I could wonder was how I had ever done it several times a month without hesitation, failure, or complaint. That was when I realized how powerful the frequency of love can be. I used to make that drive almost every weekend, and it never felt like anything. I'd go days without sleep, but I was never tired. I'd drive for hours, but never question it. Sure, there were days when traffic or other drivers annoyed me, but to see her, it was nothing. It didn't matter how long the drive was or how casual a date we then went on was, so long as we were together. I'd drive 16 hours just to watch her do her homework. As we often seek, that love was a place of peace, a different time zone on its own, and I existed in a different state than when without love. That's the frequency of love. It's not just romantic love, though. I always emphasize romance, but the frequency of love exists for lifelong friends, between parents and children, and in other relationships as well. So, what can we do with this knowledge? Shifting our focus to the frequency of love can help make the burdens of life, whether daily tasks or major events, much easier. When you focus on your desire to make the person you love happy and fulfilled, what seems impossible can become possible. The results become more important than the pain of the process. Love energizes and empowers us physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally to go beyond our limits. This includes overcoming fear, from major lifestyle changes to small daily anxieties. I moved to a new state, leaving behind all my comfort and familiarity, along with my close friends, to marry a woman. Looking back, I can't believe it. At the time, though, I didn't hesitate for a moment. Of course, it's important not to let the frequency of your love for someone else override your self-love and self-care. Otherwise, it can be very damaging. Set boundaries for yourself and make time for self-care just as you do for others. Your main frequency of love won't always be there, but a type of it will. I've been cheated on, lied to, betrayed, used for sex, used for money, used for schemes, made into a side piece, left waiting to be married, abandoned, and led on. Yet, I still hope in the idea of love, finding reciprocated, healthy, and abundant love. Some people call it naive, and I've often found myself loving unrequitedly, giving everything to people who would not do the same. So I caution everyone. However, love can also make anything seem possible. It can make time move in an instant. The frequency of love can elevate your energy and allow you to accomplish what would be otherwise impossible, all while serving others. So tell me, how are you going to love? Why are you going to love? Will you control the frequency of love or will it control you? Together, Where will you go and what will you do? Love wisely and love strongly so that your years of labor might seem like days. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Book of Frequency, Love and Gratitude, specifically my chapter. Hopefully, you enjoyed that and you can reflect on some of those questions at the end. Maybe even listening to that, you were able to recall some times in your life that looking back at it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But, it was for my partner and or whoever I loved. And, you know, at the time, it didn't seem like anything. But looking back, that was kind of crazy. I think we all have a moment or two like that. Maybe it's not as drastic as driving 16 hours. Maybe it's something much more subtle. But at the end of the day, a lot of us do some crazy things for love. And crazy can be defined in a lot of different ways. So I urge you to reflect on that. And then, of course, the Book of Frequency, I'll have that in the description below. The first book, Love and Gratitude, I'll have a link to that so you can check out all the other amazing chapters. Like I said, that was just mine. There's over 30 different authors in there, all writing about love, gratitude, or both. I wrote just about love because I really want to focus on that and hone in on that. And hopefully, through what you just listened to, you got that point and that message. And I hope it is inspirational or reflective to you. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, again, like I said in the chapter there at the end, love wisely and love strongly. From your friendships to your families to your partners. Thank y'all.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride. Jokes and laughter fill the air, on this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of the ship we reside, nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, a source of great pride.